Each year, our man trip group of 12 takes a fishing trip someplace. These trips have ranged from the Florida Keys to Costa Rica and even to Panama, in which case we had to book a full 2 years in advance just to get a place. But our trip to Panama did not begin well. Our plan was to fly to Houston and connect with our flight to Panama City, where the next morning our charter flight would take us to Tropic Star Lodge. But Mother Nature intervened when an ice storm canceled our flight to Houston.
Tropical jungles and clear waters teeming with billfish were the furthest thing from our minds as we fought driving sleet on our drive to Houston. This was not our plan, but Mother Nature had intervened. By midnight, we were driving west with 2-inch thick ice coating the running boards of the SUV. Periodically, we stopped to chip ice off the windshield and wipers. Bumper-to-bumper interstate traffic caused by wrecks, detours, and endless iced-in bridges delayed us for hours. 12 hours later, at noon the next day, we finally rolled into the Houston airport just in time for our flight to Panama City. Here in Panama City, we're headed to Tropic Star Lodge. We had quite an experience getting here, and now that we've helpfully used up all of our bad luck, we're ready to catch some big marlin.
Trying to reverse the karma of the last trip. Marlin. Big marlin.
One thing you have to understand about the man trip group is there's a lot of good-natured ribbing. In fact, you best have a pretty thick skin in order to hang with this group.
For the record, I'm glad that Frank didn't plan this trip right here after the successful adventure they had in Panama previously, which I was lucky enough not to be a part of, but I think we're going to have a good trip this time.
Hey, wait a minute. As you said, you weren't even on that trip. And yeah, the fishing wasn't quite what we expected, but we still had a great time. Isn't that right, Clay?
I have nothing to say, Frank.
My first impression upon arriving in Panama was of how modern the building architecture is, quite different than many cities I've visited in Central America. While Trump was not yet president, we stayed at his Ocean Club Hotel. It's quite a place. After France abandoned their Panama Canal project due to technical problems and the high worker mortality rate, the United States rose to the occasion. It took 10 years to complete what is considered to be one of the largest and most challenging engineering projects ever undertaken. But in 1914, this waterway was open for business.
We arrived at the Panama Canal and decided to take a fork in the road and see just what else Panama had to offer besides world-class fishing. So we arranged to have a train ride exclusively for our group from Panama City on the Pacific to Colón on the Caribbean, along all 48 miles of the Panama Canal.
Now, when David set up the Panama Canal fishing trip, we had high expectations. Well, let's just say it wasn't quite the experience we had been sold. This fork in the road was definitely not up to the quality of our train ride experience.
Catching world-class fish on a world-class spot out of a world-class dinghy, and it's all good in Panama.
The boats were, shall we say, modest, as was the fishing gear. but we made the best of it.
Get my kill.
There he is. The shoe. World class.
Let's bump heads.
Dave's mine. Dave's mine.
And we did catch some peacock bass. The tackle included nuts and bolts for sinking.
Robert holding a peacock bass. Clearly the biggest one of the day so far. What do you think about that, Robert?
I think this is the biggest one of the day, and I think there will be none bigger. Unless I catch it, of course.
Caught a couple nice ones already?
A few of us, including David Gross, had a chance to take out our dive gear and explore the waters off Panama.
Gulf South Outdoors, the only show for outdoor sportsmen.
The scenery on the canal was enjoyable, and cruising by the huge ships was very impressive. On the return trip, we stopped off at an island where the monkeys immediately boarded our boat and proceeded to steal anything they could get their hands on, including cookies and even our fish.
Yeah.
Right here.
Come on, big man, come on.
So back at shore, we saw this thing, and I'm pretty sure David wasn't the one that seen it when he was diving.
Looks like he eats a lot. Maybe people a little bit. He's shy, huh? Look at the end, he's shy. Oh, God, here he comes. It's a big crocodile. I just have to outrun you, not the crocodile.
Zigzags, back and forth.
Yeah. Flipping team.
That's looking kind of scary.
Can't believe he's gonna let those birds get that. That could be us, Leo.
Yeah, that's right.
That could be us.
After watching that croc devour that big fish, seemed to me it was time for us to get on down the road. Back aboard the train, some local children serenaded us as we made our way back along the canal.
took the right fork in the road. What's your comment now, you think?
I took the right fork and it's wonderful. Little added trip down the Panama Canal. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
David, what's your observation?
Man, a few words.
Located some 150 miles from Panama City, over 100 miles of jungle separate Tropic Star Lodge from any city. The airport here is a little less formal than the one in Houston. Village children play on the runway until a plane approaches, at which time parents yell for them to clear off. As the plane made its landing approach, we saw one child pedaling furiously down the runway, moving to the side at the last possible moment. Natives in the local village sell crafts beside the open-air waiting area. Clay Blaylock made an instant hit distributing Mardi Gras beads and t-shirts. Quite popular. King, make them happy. There are no roads, so we loaded our gear into a panga which ferried us to the resort. Luckily, it was high tide and we were not forced to wade through the mud as was the case when we left to return home. Whereas typical Mississippi tides are in the 17-inch range, those in Panama range a full 17 feet. Tropic Star was built by oil tycoon Ray Smith and opened for business in 1963. Numerous celebrities, including John Wayne and Guy Harvey, have fished there and over 250 world records have been set there. Here at Tropic Star, you're basically living in a jungle paradise. While the accommodations for the most part are simple but clean and comfortable, it is possible to rent the Palace, as it's called, which was originally the residence of Ray Smith, the founder. And aside from the great food in the one restaurant and drinks at the bar, the pool is about the only diversion for non-anglers. So this is pretty much a destination geared for serious fishermen. And there's a few things to be aware of. These include the boa constrictors we encountered on a couple of occasions, and a parrot who thought it was really funny to dive bomb us as we walked between buildings. Due to its remote location, the folks at Tropic Star have become quite self-sufficient. While the facilities are comfortable, the food and service rival many five-star resorts.
We are almost our own little town or little city here. We run off all of our own generators. We have a railway that takes up our 31-foot Bertrams. We have 16 31-foot Bertrams, so just that keeps us pretty busy. But I think the secret to our success is that we've been trying to keep the same engines, the same type of generators. So if you go into our supply room, you'll see that it's a Home Depot and I don't even know all the name, Lewis Marine and engine parts. There's quite a bit of inventory because we always have to be prepared for what comes next. The logistics, of course, is the toughest thing with us having no roads for 100 miles. Everything comes by plane or by boat. My husband and I bought a supply boat about 10 years ago.
Okay, we have 16 boats. Basically, we use the Bertrand. That's a classic. It's like when you are driving a Cadillac, and fishing, a Bertrand is like a Cadillac boat. So that's we are so proud to still have those boats running and ready to roll for you guys.
I told you in our previous episode at Panama that there was a lot more here other than black marlin fishing. Check this out.
By 6:30 a.m. the next morning, I was headed offshore along with my two fellow anglers on the Darien, one of the 16 31-foot Bertram boats at Tropic Star.
Gone again.
rods. You should see the display at Van.
Thank you.
That's a nice one there.
I love catching mai-mai, or dorado as it's sometimes called, and we caught nearly 100, many of which ended up on the table for dinner either at the lodge or at the table of the local natives. Several of the guys caught their first black marlin, and by the end of the week we had released 5 black marlin up to 450 pounds in size, as well as 3 blues up to 400 pounds, 3 striped marlin, 9 sailfish, and we had caught 136 mai-mai, an estimated total of 4 tons of fish.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Gulf South Outdoors. We had a great time in Panama and at Tropic Star. We had great food, great weather, great company. We saw crocodiles. We rode along the Panama Canal on a train. We had the chance to go peacock bass fishing. But we had a wonderful time. We found our outdoors. Have you found yours?